y'all, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter. Really quick, just wanted to talk about the 800 pavement network. As you can see, we have some lettering there, lettering on our other truck over there, lettering on this truck here. They all say 1-800-Blacktop. We've been using the 1-800-Blacktop number here for the last couple of years. It's really been exceptional for us as far as making things click with our branding, and now that we're in another state, those area codes are together. It's worked out fantastically for us. The other thing is that 800 Pavement Network has other advantages. There's group discounts on a lot of the products and materials that we use within our industry. We're part of over 300 different, see that one? Over 300 different contractors that are now using these numbers all over the country. That's combined over $2 billion in gross profits. So if you've been thinking about it or you're curious about it and you're like, well, should I or shouldn't I? DM me, message me, or reach out to 800 Pavement Network. You can find them online through their website. You can call 1-800-PAVEMENT and you'll get them as well. They'd be happy to run you through kind of the advantages and everything else that we've been taking advantage of here at Wiscote and Dubuque Asphalt Maintenance, and how it can benefit you as well. Once again, if you're curious about it at all, you can always DM me. So yeah, 1-800-Blacktop. You can DM me or message me or email me through the podcast or Wiscote or wherever as well. I would love to talk to you about how it has helped us. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Blacktop Banter. This is episode 77, I believe. So solo this time again. Had a great week this week, especially had a great week at Wiscote. We're kind of trying to get everything out of the way, get everything to the end. We were lucky enough to have a guest this week come visit us. We've done that now probably, I don't know, I would say 10, 15 times, probably 15 times this summer. We've had somebody who is looking to learn the industry or just stop by or make a connection or kind of work a few things out here there, stop by, and they stayed with us a day or so, maybe a couple days, like as in this case. And we kind of put them, through the paces and showed them what we do and how we do things here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice before I get into kind of what's been going on here at Wiscote and at the podcast and everything else, new microphone. We are on Instagram Live. Shout out Instagram. And we're going to try to get another camera set up here for TikTok Live as well as we start doing more and more podcasts like this. So we have a lot of guests coming up here as we get kind of near the end of the season. I hate pressuring my friends and everybody that I know to spend some time with me, because I know that their minutes and hours are delicate and important this time of year. So, this week, as I said, we had a guest last week. One of the fellas I'm mentoring, Grant, he joined us in Black River Falls and stayed with us for a couple days and asked a lot of questions, took a lot of notes, got to see kind of how we do our process here at Wiscote. And always been pretty humble about Wiscote because I have large aspirations, right, of where I want it to be. And that's mainly because of my friends in the industry and gentlemen that I know that are very successful. That's where I'm aiming for. And it's interesting for me to be, in my eyes, not to that level, even though when I talk to these guys and tell them my aspirations, they're like, man, you're already there. It's difficult for me to see myself as somebody that a lot of people want to come see and visit and take advice from, because in my mind, I still have so much farther to go. But, those guys that came and spent some time with me this year, they're like, man, you just, I can't thank you enough. There's so much knowledge here, and I had so many questions, and we were able to answer all those questions. So, it kind of got me thinking, in my regard to people and individuals that had, kind of helped me throughout my years doing what I do as far as business wise, and then some mentors in this field as well, in the podcasting and social media and influencer. I'm air quoting that field as well. And, kind of my journey, I guess maybe I should, start with that. And I didn't really realize I was being mentored until kind of I asked people for advice. And I seen myself this week in those people, and last week in those people that came to me and asking for advice. I seen my former self 10 years ago or so, looking for that kind of advice and mentorship and people to do those kinds of things. So, real quick, I just wanted to give a quick background. I always say real quick, but it ends up being long winded. But, I kind of wanted to share how I started, you know, getting mentored. And then all of a sudden realizing that there's advantages to being a mentor too as well. So, quick history of me, if you've paid any attention to the podcast for very long, you know that my mother and father had me very, very young. I was 2 weeks old, and they couldn't take care of me. I was essentially then adopted by my grandmother, and it wasn't the best upbringing. So for me, there was not a real dominant male figure around until I hit my early teenage years, 12, 13. My father was around, time to time, stay for a while and come back. And him and I have a really good relationship now. And I still do learn a lot from him now. But he was a young man. And when I was in my early teens, a couple doors down, my cousin Luke, who was my best friend growing up, his father and my great uncle owned a roofing business. And from 12 years old until I was, 18, I did roofing and seamless gutters. And, those guys kind of would instill some knowledge here and there, but it wasn't really direct. It just happened to be by osmosis that I was learning some of those things. But I learned to work with my hands. I learned that, hey, when we got to get up early to beat the sun, we have to get up early and beat the sun. There's not a bargain there, right? It's not like a negotiation. Like, this is just how it is. And where we live in Wisconsin, I had classmates that were farm kids, and they had been up at 4 a.m., did all their chores, did everything, then got on the bus and came to school, and then went home and did farm chores. So for them, it was non-negotiable as well. And, I think that kind of got instilled with me a little bit. I'm really lazy by nature. And I'm also, kind of want to take it easy by nature. But it wasn't until I started doing roofing and stuff pretty consistently that I realized, and seeing the owners there, Jack and my uncle Donald, um, seeing them, that I realized, man, you have to just put in work. Like, if you're going to want anything or do anything, you have to put in work unless you have it given to you. And in my situation, I was aware enough to realize I wasn't going to have anything given to me. So it really took some time there for me to find out what I was gonna be, what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. I did work. I had one regular job, so I made pizzas at a gas station for a while, and it didn't take long before I was like, I'm losing my mind here. I have to go. I just want to go back and roof, and went back and did that. But when I went back that time, I started asking some questions to Jack, the owner, who still an important part of my life. I call him Dad still to this day. I started asking some questions just about business in general, and asking about supply, and then asking about customers and how you set things up and things like that. And he shared his knowledge with me. I started doing my own thing then at 18, off and on 19, was coat when I met Kelly, and at 20. And that was cool to kind of be doing my thing, seal coating a little bit, making a little bit of money. As a single man, you didn't need much money, but that quickly changed, right? When all of a sudden somebody else is in the picture with you and you become responsible. That changes. So I went and lived with my father, who did this type of work as well, still does, and really consumed and tried to learn everything I could know about this industry from him. And then I kind of correlated that with what I had learned so far from Jack, and started to develop somewhat of a business outline. And I had no idea that, like, this is what I was going to do. I just knew I needed money. We had bills to pay. I wanted to take my wife out to dinner and things from time to time, at least, and at least buy her something once in a while. So that's kind of when I started to set up, but I still had no clue what I was doing. I knew none of the bones, and I knew none of the structure, and I knew none of the details on how to grow and expand and scale and do all those things. And right when I was going through the trials of learning that stuff, it was 2009, I think 2008, 2009. Housing market crashed, recession hit. People weren't spending extra money, which I wasn't getting a ton of jobs at that time. I'm an introvert, so I wasn't going out. You guys hear me preach like, hey, you have to go out, you have to do this and all those things now. I wasn't doing that because I was an introvert. Um, I just had a fear of going up and just talking to people. So I was doing traditional marketing and it just fell flat. So I went back with Jack and did roofing, but also was doing seal coating and things then at that time as well, trying to keep that going as well. And after probably a year or two, again with Jack, this time I was asking a lot of questions about business wise and, structuring your business, customer relations, how a contractor should be, why he was successful versus other people who weren't. In my eyes, Jack was always been successful, family man, always provided everything and had everything they need to grow a business. So what I ended up doing was really picking his brain a lot, soaking up everything I can, and I started applying that to Wiscoat. And when I did, Wiscoat started to expand and grow, right? With Jack's knowledge plugged in with what I had learned from my father, I really started to expand this business enough so that eventually, I told Jack, I'm like, you guys don't need me to hang gutters. I really need to be out here doing this. And then it went to, man, if it's a small roof and you guys can handle it, I really need to be out here doing my thing. And Jack started to have some health issues and those things at those times. And I'm eternally grateful for what I've learned and for him taking me in as a young teenager and providing a way for me to have means to have something in school so that I felt good about myself, at least having some clothes. I wore FUBU jerseys. I loved those things. I regret now that I wore those things all the time back then. But I felt good when I was wearing them. That was my style. So going to work and being able to provide those things for myself, lunch, shoes, clothes, all those things while I was going up through middle and high school, I'm eternally grateful for him providing those things for me. But Jack's health really wasn't getting all that greater. And there was a point where he was like, and I was asking, okay, I need to go to this, hey, I need to do this. And, I started crunching the numbers and was like, I really don't need to roof anymore. Wiscoat is doing fairly well. It can provide for me. It can provide for my family. I can, probably go ahead and like put a down payment on a home and things now. And that's when Jack essentially was like, you need to go do your own thing, because if not, you can't get to where I know you want to go here. You can always come back here. And that safety net that he gave me with that of, hey, you can always come back here and roof and do these kinds of things, give me a lot of confidence, right? So I think about that sometimes with the people that I mentor now, to take a break from my story. I think about those things with people that I mentor now. And, they're so worried that they don't have a safety net, but yet they're at these careers right now, some of them, where they've been working this place. They know they can make money. Even if they left and attempted this and went back, they still have the structure and rigidity that they could get hired anywhere and work again and stick to what they have for their integrity and for their work ethic, and they're going to work again. So I try to help eliminate that fear and give them somewhat of a safety net in what they built for their own life, because that's what Jack did for me. It was literally, go try your thing. If not, you can just come back here. And I knew I could survive doing roofing and supplementing and stuff with Wiscoat and whatnot. But I made the jump, and within a couple of years, Jack had shared with me a couple times what he grossed a year, right? What they made. And within a few years, I was getting really close to that number of being on my own. And then I plateaued there for probably, I would say almost 2 years, again. And I got comfortable and I just started living a comfortable life. The tenacity that I had and the hard work ethic that I had getting to that point went away. And it went away because I had reached the only point that I'd really imagined in my mind, just being comfortable, being able to pay my bills, provide for my family, have vehicles and a house and stuff. I'd never been taught goal setting or anything like that. I had always just had this vision in my brain, and I met that. And I got really comfortable. And I can remember coming home to Kelly, and I'm sure you've all heard this story before, being like, if all I do is make blacktop black forever and come back and pay bills, I'm going to be miserable, because I knew that that would be the next 40 years of my life, right? So I went out and searched, how to make some more money, tried to find mentors, which I really didn't know I was finding mentors online. And that led me to the green industry community. Um, I did learn a lot about business in general there, and expanding and growing your business. The green industry community has been great for me. They're an integral part of my success to this point. Whether that's the podcast here or whether that's in business in general, but it wasn't specific to my niche. And, all the social media and stuff and all the things I did early on, I got to give a shout out to Keith Kalfas in Michigan. He mentored me and gave me advice of what I needed to do in order to be able to get comfortable doing social media. Like I said, I was an introvert. He gave me techniques and said, hey, man, every time you get in front of that microphone or you turn the camera on yourself, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your buddies. Be comfortable, right? Your buddies are going to bust your chops too. So if you're worried about bad things being said in the comments, which I was, he's like, your buddies are going to bust your chops too. He's like, so just talk like you're talking to your friends. And essentially, that's the advice I've taken up to this point. Hence, I have my friends on the podcast. And when I don't have my friends on the podcast, I still talk like I'm talking and explaining things to them. I do that through any of the speaking engagements that I go to that you guys see me at. I try to do that through my articles. I'm talking to my friends every single time, even if they're not in front of me. I know it's going to them. Shout out Brian Hess, Mark Mena, everybody who's following me on Instagram. I'm speaking to my friends every single time. If you can put that up in your brain, you get a lot more comfortable really, really quick. You're not, you'll FaceTime your mom and dad, you'll FaceTime your buddies, you'll FaceTime your family, flip the camera around, pretend like you're FaceTiming them, but their camera's not working. Explain to them what you're doing, how you feel, everything else about your business, why you've been successful, what you provide, what you don't provide, why you're the best. I always say in my mind, I am the best. And I try to explain why I'm the best. Keith gave me that advice through social media. And when you look at his content versus my content, it's very different. We're in two different niches, but that became one of my mentors as far as doing this. There were some really, really good ones. Brian Ring was over there as well. Blake Albertson, who's younger than me, but the kid is sharp on social media. If you guys don't know B&B Lawn Care, check it out on TikTok and Instagram. But you'll be addicted to the content. But those are the guys that really kind of gave me my foundation in social media, because in our industry, we didn't have a social media presence, really. There was no community. I had to build that. So I seen that they had one. I mimicked it. I got mentored by them and helped build it. And that was great. And when we built that, it was fantastic. But the reason I built that was because, like I told you, I wanted to do more in my business. When I started doing social media, there were people commenting like, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. It's a joke, do whatever. And I would comment back, then show me, right? Show me how to do it right. If you know how to do it right, show me. And if you know how to grow your business and scale your business, create culture, show me. And that's when we started going to, when I started going to National Pavement Expo, doing all those things, that's when everything started to change. I started to come in contact with guys that were far more successful than I was. And that led to me being mentored, right? And these guys were made. Like, I thought I was made, right? At that point, they were very made in my mind. And they were still going. They were still working. They were still going every day. They were going hard. They were strategizing. They were still looking to implement things to improve their business, even though they were made, right? And that's the drive that I wanted, and I wanted to have that mentored and implemented on me. So what I ended up doing was, befriending some of these guys, and they actually did become my friends. That's first and foremost. I go forward trying to offer something, right? Because I don't want to be in a relationship where either, all I do is take, and where all they do is give, because that's going to run flat pretty quick. So yeah, Brian, you'll never stop busting my chops. I know you won't. And I would be concerned. That's why I texted you. Check your text, man. You know, that's really was the crux of it. And I came back and realized that I had to get uncomfortable and stay uncomfortable in order for me to get to a point where the podcast is at a certain level of success and my business starts to scale, right? Where Wiscoat starts to scale at a certain level of success. I kept these mentors on the horn, whether it was my good friend Stephen Brainey, who's been intricate in that, even Daniel Wright, who is, I think, a little younger than me, I think a year or so younger than me. He has been integral. Him and I are going at almost the same pace. It has been fantastic to run this race with him. I cannot wait till we're at the end and I buy the bottle of Dom finally and we share it. But you need that. And you know, I have a talk that I would love to give at some point on climate change. And people think that it's going to be about climate change, but it's not. It's your atmosphere that you're creating, right? It's your atmosphere of what's around you. I really, really, really try to cancel out anything negative and any kind of in-depth conversations that would stick in my brain outside of what we're doing here at Wiscoat and at the Banter and personally to grow and become a better person, right, in general. And to hear me speak now versus to hear me speak before I started this journey through social media and all this stuff, there I am completely a different person. And I'm a different person because I changed the climate through mentorship, right? And some of these guys are still my mentors. Craig Granroth, I will call him or text him at some point if I run into an issue. Brian, I do with sales if I'm like, hey man, what am I doing here? Why am I flubbing this up? Stephen Brainey, right? Any kind of business theory, the guy's a genius. Daniel, him and I hit up often when we run into the same kind of roadblock problems, whether it's staff or equipment or whatever. Who else? Chris Tammany, Nick Howell, some of those guys there, Jason at Florida Seal Coating, all these guys, this whole network of guys that mentor me have increased my net worth, right? So that's the saying, your network is your net worth. I cannot explain how intricate that is to your success. I know that there's some people like that want to be proud, right? Be like, and I don't need that. Take a look at your business and tell me if it's the same size that it has been for years now. Because the people that I run with and hang with and talk with regularly, we increase by a large percentage every year. So since I started this journey, we've increased at least 800%. Like it's multiplied and then exponentially, right? It doubles and then it doubled and then it doubled. This year we put up the largest numbers ever. We increased our personnel. We're in a new building. In 3 years, we went from myself included, 3 people to having 9 people, 10 people, including myself, on staff this summer. We have 2 people on staff here at the office. Brooke is here all the time. Steph is here from time to time. And they take care of all the office stuff that I used to do. I needed to take that off myself. I wouldn't have been able to look and acquire the right people for those positions if I didn't have mentorship, right? Flashback then, right? We have 2 rigs, another rig that's just sitting. We have patching equipment now, a Craftco now, infrared machine now, 2 Duramaxes, I think 3 other trucks. You need people to man those, right? To increase your top line revenue. That's where it comes from. It comes from being able to pick brains. And sure, you can just go out and do it and make the moves. But how efficient is that, right? How efficient is it to just learn the hard way? It's not. You can fast track your success a lot quicker by having mentorship and doing mentorship. So those guys, that scale is where I'm at now. Now, there are people that I used to talk to a lot, right? That when I was at a certain level, they were just going to stay there. They weren't as hungry. They didn't have the vision. They didn't have the goal set like I did. And I had to graduate, right? They helped to get me there into those mastermind groups or just a group in general. I want to elevate above there. I want to elevate above there again. It's not, there's nothing negative with that. It's just that this is your move, right? As progression goes. So that's kind of what the ladder was for me to this point, without all the details. That's what the ladder was. That's what the ladder here. I still have mentors. I still have guys I'm chasing. One of my, and I forgot to mention him, but one of my most intricate mentors is Jerry Farner. Jerry Farner did great. Had his business bought out, and as far as I know, is the most successful seal coater as far as monetarily and business-wise goes that I know. And I can call him at any moment. And he went through it for 25, 30 years, right? If not more. there's nothing he hasn't seen when it comes to that point. Now, does he know what I know about technology in the future and whatnot? No. So you have to get another mentor in that area. You can't just be one faceted and expect that you're going to be good everywhere. It doesn't work like that. So increase your network, find more mentors in one way or another, right? So what that leads me to is this conversation with everybody that's been coming here, as far as mentorship goes. There's a certain kind of enjoyment that you get from passing on the knowledge and knowing that just by speaking what you know or showing what you are improving somebody's life. They wouldn't be here if they didn't have a desire to improve their life. If they didn't think that you helping them with in areas where you've succeeded isn't going to improve their life, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be, they might come just see, hey, what's it like? But they're saying what's it like because they want an improvement in one area or another, whether that's here and they're unhappy and they want to be happier here, or whether that's here and they want to be happier there, right? Um, you know, there's an enjoyment and a certain level of gratitude that I give by giving advice, right? Of course, it makes you feel good to feel like you're the man and you know what you're talking about. And I do believe I'm the man and I know what I'm talking about. But it's only because I was surrounded by so many men that I believe knew what they were talking about. And the advice has been solid. It's been tested. It's been proven. So that's my kind of advice and jump on today is mentorship. If you're in a spot and you want to know more, if you keep reaching out, eventually somebody's going to say yes, right? So if it's us, if you call here or you leave a message and Brooke gets it, or you DM me or you email me or whatever, you're going to get some kind of a response. We're not going to leave you hanging, right? Because I was left hanging early on because this was new. And then finally I just didn't go away. And people were finally like, well, maybe if I tell him something, he'll go away. And when it worked, I would ask more and more. So don't feel shy about that. Everybody knows you don't get to the finish line alone in this game. So do yourself a favor. And if it's not me and there's somebody local that you know, or you have a friend that does this, you're interested in it, ask them. I was on a call this week. I was asked to be a guest and I was fortunate enough to be there. And somebody asked a question about pricing. They don't even know where to start. And I said, like, well, where are you? And they told me they were in Miami, Florida. And I said, yeah, I don't know the prices there either, but I know who does. 2 or 3 other seal coaters that are in Miami right now. I said, there's a lot of public asphalt, whether it's a park or whatever. You can have them give you an estimate on that area and have them email you or whatever. That'll get you a start, right? That'll get you 3 prices. You'll kind of get a ballpark for what people are charging in that area. But that's not where you should stay as well, because if they're just bidding the actual service, seal coating, crack filling, they're not bidding the way that I bid, right? So you'll get to that point and then you'll ask for somebody who you know is getting higher margins. So that's the thing. That's your growth on this ladder. That is mentorship, right? As we go forward here through Blacktop Banter, and as Wiscoat succeeds, and as Brooke takes a lot off my plate, Steph takes a lot off my plate, Chris Cheeks, as you guys know him, Wiz Cheeks, takes a lot off my plate, and anyone else who comes along the team that is able to free me up, we're going to have more time to be able to do this kind of stuff and do it right. We have some ideas coming down the line. We're going to have some stuff here that probably the industry has never seen as far as mentorship and teaching goes, right here at Wiscoat, at Blacktop Banter, right here in Lone Rock, where you can come here and we're going to give you everything that we can give you as far as we know with tools. We're going to put stuff in your hands, let you use the equipment, the machines, everything right here with actual materials and everything else in our facility, on our land, on our lots, right here. And that's because I want to be able to provide this for our industry so that all around we're able to charge higher margins, because we all do great quality work, right? All that does is, if you make the industry better, it allows you to charge more prices because everything's better in general. And that's where we're aiming. As far as growing the industry and giving back to the industry that's given so much to us. If you approach life with the attitude of gratitude, see what I did there? It will help you not only have a feeling of accomplishment in your career and fulfillment in your heart, but also it's going to help our industry in general. And that's what I think everybody should be doing. It's easy to sit on the outside, not do anything, just go to work, do your jobs, come back and criticize everybody else. If you've never sat in the room with them, if you've never heard them speak, like you're hearing me speak right now, it's really, really easy. But when you're around people that other people criticize, and they're around the people that they've been helping and mentoring, and you've seen them succeed and grow and expand and put up crazy numbers, that doesn't mean that there's not anything to it. If you invest a little bit in a mentor, but it brings you a lot back fold on your top line, that's the same as investing in a piece of equipment. It's the same as investing in better materials, right? So you get a higher value. That's what you need to focus on when you're going to go for mentorship. There's plenty of free mentorship out there that gets you to a certain level. And then there's paid mentorship where these guys like myself are so crunched on time. You guys know that, to where they may not offer it free anymore. And they're like, hey, man, I have to make this something of value, because if not, I'm going to be taking time away from my family for this. And I've done that a lot because I've had free time and I want to give back to the community so much, that's given so much to me. But I understand these guys that aren't able to do that. So, that's the main thing. You can also surround yourself with mentors that aren't there, that you don't get to talk to. Everybody knows that when I started doing social media, I consumed Gary Vee for 6, 8, 9, 10 months before I even made my first video. And I still read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho twice a year, probably. Think and Grow Rich, I read all the time. All these guys are my mentors as well, whether they're past beyond here or they're still here, whether it's, listening to Bradley's podcast or Andy Frisella, or anybody that you look up to as a mentor that gives you advice that helps improve you. Those are your mentors without them knowing as well, if you're just going to take the free content and do stuff. But anywhere that it improves you, you're receiving mentorship. I would not be here today without this mentorship that I've received. And also, I believe, because I've learned a lot from the younger guys that I'm mentoring, I wouldn't be improving if I wasn't mentoring right now. These younger guys, they're on the edge. They show me things, apps, softwares. They help me understand, right, the younger clientele. Just because when I'm 50 doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to sell to 30-year-olds then, right? They're successful 30-year-olds now. So I need to understand that going all the way up through. And, Eli gets frustrated with me and can't articulate well all the time. So I'm not always going to be able, and he's a wild card, man. So I'm not always going to be able to pick his brain. But that's a podcast for today. I hope you found some value there in that. I really enjoy doing these solo ones now. I'm more comfortable being able to do the solo ones now when I pick a topic, and that we have things going on each week that gets us there. So once again, this is Blacktop Banter. I really appreciate everybody who follows along, who listens. Our Instagram is blowing up finally, which is crazy to me. TikTok, you're still moving, still giving us millions of views on there and lots of followers. The podcast itself, since the beginning of the summer, has 3 times the listeners. We're over 40 countries now. It's crazy. And I cannot thank everybody for the support. It just shows persistence is paying off here in the long run. Big shout out to our sponsors as well. I know you heard them before the show. Listen after the show for our sponsors there as well. Everybody for all the support. That's how this works. That's how you succeed. You succeed with support. So this is Blacktop Banter, episode 77, I believe. Don't quote me on it. They're starting to run together. But here we speak asphalt. And we speak everything that gets you to the point where you can speak asphalt well too. Peace.